We're going to win, and we're going to help. We have plans to build a railroad from the Pacific all the way across the Indian Ocean.
The 2024 Republican presidential primary field is taking shape.
The battle lines are becoming clearer, and so is the field of candidates.
Is the odds-on favorites, if you look at the polling, still Trump versus Biden?
That seems to be it, but it's just way too early to tell.
I'm more angry now, and I'm more committed now than I ever was.
Big challenge for these candidates is going to be how do they navigate Donald Trump? And how do they navigate Ron DeSantis?
You and I have a rendezvous with destiny.
Welcome back to a big week here on the Ruthless Variety Program. Fellas, how we doing?
Oh, cannot complain. This is great to be back.
It really is. You guys have a good weekend?
Great weekend. Great weekend. I have to say, Michael Duncan isn't here.
We are missing somebody. Maybe we can remedy that. Let me first say that at the top of the program, we have a great program and a great guest for you today. Chris LaCivita, who is the senior advisor for the Trump campaign, guy that we've known for a long time, very, very smart operative, sort of at the top of the old totem pole over at the Trump campaign, has come in and spent some time with us.
Great interview. Huge get.
Yeah, I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. But you're all wondering where Michael is. Frankly, we are too. And we're doing something that we haven't done here before on the Ruthless Variety Program. So I'm not sure how it's going to work. But we're going to try. He's stuck at an airport at O'Hare. He was supposed to be here for the program. It
was in Chicago.
Yeah. And he was flying back through O'Hare, which, as we all know,
you don't want to be there.
You don't want to do that. And he's had like a 6-hour delay. So he's got plenty of time to work up some madness. And he has absolutely no idea that we're about to call him on the Ruthless Variety Program. Wolf, let's see if we can make this happen. This is so good. I literally can't.
He's going to be so mad.
And at O'Hare.
I feel like the jerky boys. If that bastard doesn't answer.
Oh, if he doesn't answer.
Oh, come on.
Come on,
He's
Michael.
so angry he can't even answer. I'm going to leave him a message. I'm going to leave him a message.
Please leave your name and number, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks.
At the tone, please record your message.
I'm going to type him
Finish recording. You may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hi, Michael. Ruthless Variety Program here. We're just here to try to alleviate your travel needs, and we're going to take a look and see what we can do. If you wouldn't mind calling us back, Smug, do you have anything to add that you'd like to help him with?
It's disappointing. I wish you'd care more about our audience, and you should be here.
He's calling back.
Oh, he's calling back.
Oh, he's calling back. Okay, let's get him in. Let's get him in. Here we go.
Hey.
Michael, Ruthless Variety Program here. Just checking in on your travel needs. We were concerned because you have...
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Lee, try him again. We got to do it one more time. Let's see what he does.
Oh, man. This is so great. It's even better than expected.
I'm leaving him another message.
You're at O'Hare.
Yeah, it's a tough spot.
6 hours.
Talk to your friends for
Hi,
crying
you've
out
reached
loud.
Michael Duncan. Please leave your name and number, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks.
At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hi, Michael. Ruthless Variety Program here. We must have been disconnected, unfortunately. I know that cell service can be a little bit spotty at O'Hare International Airport. Anyway, wanted to see what your travel needs are and if there's any way we could be helpful for you. Our audience is missing you today. And Smugglesworth?
I mean, if you hung up on purpose, then I understand why Ashbrook wouldn't buy you a drink at the airport.
Your friends just want to talk to you, Michael. Pick up. Please talk to us.
Thank you, Wolf. Thank you. So anyway, that's a nice way to start the program.
I just got a message from Duncan. I am not going to do a call-in.
God, I love that so much. Oh my gosh, that's so terrific. All right, so look, we have a big show for you today. I think the thing that we need to start with is a story from Axios. A lot of people tweeted it out over the weekend because they thought it was just amazing, the level of water carrying that's going on for President Biden and his inability to articulate English words.
Yeah.
And
big problem.
It made its way around conservative universes quite a bit. The story is Biden's weird words.
It's his words.
Yeah, it's his words that are the issue. It's not the capacity. President Biden often uses old-timey expressions.
Old-timey expressions.
That confound even his own staff. That happened again Friday when he ended a speech on gun violence with "God save the Queen, man."
That's his problem.
Just an old-timey saying.
He just uses old-timey expressions. I think Lee has some audio in the bank of some of the other old-timey expressions that Biden uses. Like, do you remember when he read the teleprompter all the way through? Lee, do you have that one?
It is noteworthy that the percentage of women who register to vote and cast a ballot is consistently higher than the percentage of the men who do so. End of quote. Repeat the line. Women are not
That's
without
just
electoral and or political or maybe precise, not and or political power.
Just one of those old-timey expressions.
Just old-timey. You know, it's just it's like the silent pictures. You know, back in those days. Just an old-timey expression. I think there are more. Wolf, let's go to cut 3.
Representative Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie?
My God. This is...
I didn't think she was going to be here to help make this a reality.
Just another old-timey expression.
That was when he introduced Jackie Walorski, who had unfortunately passed away weeks earlier.
Yeah.
And he was recognized.
And he was like, unfortunately, I don't think she's going to be here. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure she can't make it.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that.
It's old-timey.
But you know, it's old-timey.
When you think your friends will come back from the afterlife
just
to show up for your...
Just Charlie Chaplin doing his thing. That's all it is. We got another one. If you want to go to cut 4.
Happy birthday, great president. We know your mom's always with you.
Yes.
It's old-timey to call Kamala president.
Well, it's, you know, when you are president, you call your vice president a president. That's just old-timey, guys.
It's incredible.
Humphrey Bogart.
It's
just the good old days.
It's just words this generation cannot relate to, which is what Axios says that he's guilty of using.
Well, honestly, I think this may be more of a modern thing. Can you cut 6? Can we get that one?
By the way, if they do, that means, not a joke, everybody, that's why we were defeated in 2018 when they tried to do it. We went to 54 states.
Oh yeah.
All 54.
54. That was back in the day when America had 54 states.
54. Well,
we've been losing states.
We've been losing. Everybody knows that we've lost states.
First we lost Pluto, then we got 4 states gone.
Yeah, so it's old-timey. Just
downhill
the
trend.
throwback to when we only had 50.
Do we have one more?
More than half the women in my cabinet, more than half the people in my cabinet, more than half of the women in my administration are women.
Oh, at least more than half of the women are women.
Well, that's old-timey. That's old-timey. I mean, I can't imagine there's anything more old-timey
It's
than
just
that.
incredible when someone chooses to dismiss his obvious problems as something other than what it is. It's like, obviously the story is spin. Obviously it's exactly what the White House people want everyone to read, but nobody believes it.
Well, it's the best part is like, well, even his own staff, because they're young and vibrant,
Right.
they don't even understand
Like,
that.
oh, it's old timey. This line is incredible. It says, even Olivia Dalton, the White House's principal deputy press secretary, didn't know what her boss meant when he said "God save the Queen" at the end of the speech. When journalists asked, she replied only that, quote, he was commenting to someone in the crowd. Later, the White House didn't respond when Axios asked what Biden had meant. They're like, oh yeah.
Which is so...
That's just old timey to like not want to talk about this very obvious issue.
It's also hilarious that if you're a deputy press secretary, you're like, Jesus, I needed something to make up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's nobody in the crowd that was talking. It was the
way.
president that was talking. So she's like, I don't know, it's somebody in the crowd, I guess. I don't know. I mean, God save the Queen.
It's ridiculous. It's like somebody's like, hey, this is old timey. He's using these old phrases. Talk to the deputy press secretary. And she's like, yep, definitely old timey.
Just
it works for him.
But by the way, as if that's like somehow like beats the rap, right?
I didn't even know what he meant.
Well, I don't know what he means because he's 117 years old.
That's the thing is like, you know things are bad when you'd rather highlight that he's incredibly old rather than he's completely lost his mind.
So this is where this thing turns, and this is where the Ruthless Variety Program always has our most fun. Biden's quirky aphorisms are sometimes weaponized by Republicans to insinuate the 80-year-old president is in mental decline.
Oh, yeah.
How dare we?
Republicans are pouncing.
They're pouncing and weaponizing.
Using his terms as a cudgel against the president of the United States.
I mean, it's just so true. But Biden has been using unique phrases for years.
Yeah, right.
Even some of his aides don't know exactly what he means by them. I mean, that is, okay, all right. Wandering into a mental institution and asking the nurse, like, if you understand everything that your patient is going through, and they're like, yeah, I don't really know, and then you're like, well, that's just old-timey.
Yeah, 100%.
That's just old-timey.
He's been saying crazy things for years.
I mean,
maybe he shouldn't have been vice president.
What it's called is consistency, John. There is a consistent roadmap that this president has laid down of insanity. Oh, I just couldn't get enough of this story. I really couldn't. It's like they pull out all kinds of things that help support the thesis that he's basically just using old-timey phrases. But we've let our show, as John pointed out last week, we've let our show like 200 times with the insanity that this guy said. And like, those aren't Humphrey Bogart sayings, right? I mean, this is just, the man has lost his place.
Right. He doesn't even know where he's going. And like the things that they can't say is when he walks off stage the wrong direction, or he trips, or he does anything that is completely in line with the guy who's a little bit too old to be the leader of the free world.
Yeah.
And I mean, the excuses that the press makes today and the excuses that we all know they're going to make over the next 18 months are going to be worth watching. Well worth watching.
The one space where I'm willing to give him some credit, when he did the Wallersky thing, long history of doing things like that from the podium.
Oh, yeah, Stand Up Chuck?
Stand Up Chuck.
Yeah.
If you have not Googled the YouTube of Stand Up Chuck, you need to do this. When Biden was vice president, right? Or was it on the campaign trail in 2008?
Yeah, it might have been
One of the two. He's got a crowd in front of him, and he's recognizing people in the crowd. And then he gets to this guy, Chuck, that is like a war hero. And he's like, and Chuck, hey, stand up, Chuck. And Chuck can't walk. I forget if Chuck didn't have legs or if Chuck was a paraplegic, but Chuck was in a wheelchair, and he's in the front row. And Biden says, stand up, Chuck. And then he sees Chuck, and he's like, oh, God love you.
That's unbelievable.
But
that may not be a decline. That may just be who he is.
There's a big difference between putting your foot in your mouth and thinking America has 54 states when you're the president of the country.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
And I think that, you know, he has been someone who has the tendency to put his foot in his mouth for his entire career, but it is, you know, obviously his deputy press secretary is using the two things and blending them together and hoping nobody notices the difference. 200 shows later, I feel like the Variety Program has made it plain as day that President Joe Biden is not the man he once was.
It is unbelievable. And the amount of time that people spend trying to, like, explain away this whole thing, it just strikes me.
I mean, honestly, it's kind of becoming a common theme for the Dems.
Well, it is. You're right. You're right. Because a perfect example of that was over the weekend when he did a Pennsylvania rally. And if you want to know what the perfect encapsulation of our moment in time in Democratic politics looks and sounds like, let me give you cut one.
And now I'm standing next to the president again, next to a collapsed bridge here. And he is here to commit to work with the governor and the delegation to make sure that we get this fixed quick, fast as well, too. This is a president that is committed to infrastructure. Yeah, and then on top of that, the dual kind of a law inflation bill that is going to make sure that there's going to be bridges all across America getting rebuilt.
Okay. Why did they do that? Why did
That's
Democrats
the thing.
do this?
That's
to
the
people?
thing. Is like we were told. This is the thing. Is the campaign that the Fetterman campaign told us. Oh well, just in a few months he'll be normal. Like get off him. They said this is no different than using a hearing aid.
That's the point.
It was just a massive lie to voters.
The point.
And the press was like, I agree. How dare you people point out that this individual may be incapable?
And that's what's happening here. Like the point that you just raised is the point. Everybody who sort of like criticizes or can't believe that Fetterman is as incapable of doing his job as senator, everyone it puts in a category of people who are like, he's recovering from a stroke, you clown. Like how could you make fun of that? We're not making fun of that. Like every single person who is a recovering stroke victim is absolutely entitled to complete deference in terms of what their recovery looks like. That's not the issue. The issue is that you had a cottage industry of the entire corporate media assuring the people of Pennsylvania in election season that this was not a serious thing.
Yeah, the campaign said that, in a few months he's going to be back to completely normal. You all need to stop discussing this. And the press ran with it. They said, yeah, okay, that sounds great. Totally.
And here's the thing. Now they have him in Pennsylvania introducing Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is the perfect encapsulation of today's Democratic Party in a nutshell. It's not as much that they can do everything against your best interests on a day-to-day basis. They need to throw it in your face. By showing you that they actually don't care, that they will tell you that what you're hearing makes a load of sense, and that these people who are standing before you are somehow champions of what you believe in. Like they've told us that. These people aren't champions of their own cognitive ability.
That's the thing is, we were told, I cannot stress it enough, by the campaign, in a few months he'll be back to normal. It's abundantly clear that's not the situation.
It's not.
It's abundantly clear that he has not recovered and very clearly does not have the capability to do his job. He was in the hospital for how long? How long?
A whole campaign.
While as a senator as well. He can't do the job. It's cruel to him to start with.
Totally.
And I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the amount that his wife has capitalized on this of attacking anyone who says that he's not capable of being a United States senator, which has become abundantly clear. However, when he checks into the hospital, she just grabs the kids, goes to Canada. He does not have a support structure around him. This is tragic.
Can we start with the fact that the president of the United States showed up in his hometown to deliver a speech, and he greets him in gym shorts and a hoodie?
Yeah.
Put on a shirt and tie. Think about the number of people in this country who put on a shirt and tie to go to work. They don't want to do it. Nobody's like, oh man, I can't wait to put on a tie again for this Monday morning meeting I don't want to go to.
Nobody wants to do that.
But they do it. Show some respect to the people that you're around and put on a tie. Just put on a jacket. It doesn't make you look like you're more normal, part of the regular people who don't wear put on a tie, dude. Just do it.
There are hundreds of thousands of people around this country that are made to wear uniforms when they go work.
Right.
And
they do it.
They got their name right on their side. Do they want to wear that shirt? No. They don't. They do it because it's their job. When you are a United States senator and you're greeting the president of the United States, you have some fucking respect for the office.
Right.
I can't get over this. And I know people have criticized that view about it's an antiquated view of, people should be able to wear whatever they want. Nope. No, it's not. We are a country that demands respect. And in order to demand respect from others, externally, internationally, as well as domestically, you need to look the part.
Right.
You need to show up and do your job and look the part. And I'm not saying you need to wear a wig and you need to go throw the old ascot on, but you need to do whatever the modern standard is of showing due deference and respect for the presidency of the United States. And this clown shows up in a hoodie I mean, come on.
The other thing we know is that if he were a Republican, there's no way everybody would be making excuses for him. Like, oh, this is just who he is. Maybe we should rethink the coat and tie. If he were a Republican showing up in a hoodie and gym shorts, the press would just be apoplectic.
The problem that we have is we have too little respect for things. It's not that we have too much respect. It's we have too little respect. The people show up in the airport in pajamas and no shoes, and they're walking around on everybody else's business. Like, have some respect.
Well, I think that's a great point, and I think part of the issue here is the utter lack of respect for voters when you allow Fetterman to represent the state of Pennsylvania in the United States Senate, because it's so obvious. Everyone knows he is not the best, most capable person to do the job. He is not even functionally capable person to do the job of being a United States Senator who can handle all the interests of the people of Pennsylvania. It's abundantly clear.
Abundantly clear.
It's insulting to them. And again, it's cruel to Fetterman himself. The guy needs to be focused only on recovery.
And you know what? I might feel differently if there was one thing, just one thing, in his 8-month tenure or whatever it is, 7-month tenure that he's got so far. If he thought outside of the square of establishment Democratic vote.
Yep.
If there was just one thing where he was like, you know what? I can meet Republicans halfway on this because it's good for my constituency.
Mm-hmm.
He can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
He's not even interested in that concept. Now, we knew he wasn't pre-stroke interested in that concept. But I'd be willing to give him the benefit of the doubt if he's just somebody who's like, I'm thinking for my own. I'm alive. He had 6-year term. I'm going to do my own thing. He doesn't.
Well, look at what J.D. Vance is doing with this rail safety stuff. I mean, he's working with Democrats, Sherrod Brown. He's working with Democrats in Pennsylvania and all over to try to like solve some of the problems that led to this East
And we were led to believe that J.D. Vance was some right-wing lunatic who was like this partisan whatever who couldn't possibly meet a Democrat halfway on anything.
Right. And now here you have a guy who's in the old standards of the Senate working with Democrats to try to come up with a solution that actually prevents a similar problem from happening in the future. Like, where is Fetterman on something like that?
He just doesn't have anything because he's incapable. It's not, but it also shows you can be entirely incapable as an individual and be a rank and file Democrat in this country.
I mean, hell, we have one in the White House.
Seriously.
Seriously. Great point.
Boys, killer whales.
This is some amazing animal news I wanted to get into.
Yeah.
I mean, so The Atlantic got into this, the magazine The Atlantic, which is not typically a place that challenges the left. But they say that killer whales are not our friends.
That's the thing is, you would think that's not a controversial stance.
At this point.
The animal known to be a killer in its name, killer whales, are not our friends.
And this is The Atlantic. It's not the National Review.
Yeah. So The Atlantic says the killer whales are not our friends. That was the headline. Outrage. Outrage for the left.
Yep.
Where they were like, how dare you? How dare you not side with the animals who are in packs trying to murder humans?
So did you see how the killer whales responded to this piece?
They sunk another boat?
No, they hired a press secretary. The Washington Post just this morning had an opinion piece. Let me read you the headline. Why are orcas, so the killer whales had their press secretary change the term to orca.
Yeah,
so
of course, they want to be a killer.
Pretend like they don't have teeth.
Yeah.
Why are orcas attacking boats?
Pretending like they don't have teeth.
Hint, this is in the headline, hint, it's not a war on humans.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
We all know the truth.
What do you think about that?
We all know that animals are coming for us.
Yeah.
We all know that you got to be ready. We all know that there's a dog who killed its owner, a hog who killed its butcher. We know that there are monkeys throwing toddlers off of roofs in Asia.
Yeah.
And you have killer whales now attacking boats randomly.
Well, sinking them all over the place.
It's outrageous. And there's this woman named Nina Turner. I don't know if you're familiar with her.
Was it the chick?
She's like a left-wing influencer.
Yeah, like a Bernie.
She ran for Congress and lost in a primary. Am I correct?
That's right. That's right. And she is saying, like, why would we care about a boat over an animal? Like, and I'm just like, excuse me, What about the people in the boat?
Yeah.
We're supposed to just let these killer whales sink the boat and eat the people so that we can satisfy your bloodthirsty lust for like animals dominating
Again,
us?
this is like part and parcel with the whole climate death cult thing of like, oh no, it's our fault. We deserve this. We should all suffer. Because theoretically, this will help these animals named killer whales. You know, like there was another headline this weekend of like a forest fire, which, you know, we'd been being lectured was because of climate change.
Yeah.
They caught the arsonist. So this is yet another example. Like all roads lead to this insane anti-human stance that's been completely embraced by the left.
Let me just say, I think the front lines here are the killer whales.
Yeah.
They used to be, like last year, I think that Hank was the front line.
Mm-hmm.
I think the front line might be the killer whale. And let me just suggest that until we turn all of these whales into lamp oil, I think we've got a real danger on our hands here, fellas.
It's a renewable resource.
That's
And can I just say one more thing? I know we need to move on to another topic, but there was a woman who was a trainer at SeaWorld who was killed by one of these things.
Shamu.
Was killed by one of these things. And it apparently severed her spine and tore off her scalp. And now there was no documentary made about her.
Yeah.
There was nobody who like, she's just a trainer. You know, she's working an hourly wage trying to make these fish jump so that people can clap and have a little bit of joy and then go back to their life.
Didn't Michael stand up for can we get him back on the line? Let's try one more time. Let's see if we can get, I think Michael, last time we had this discussion, Michael stood up for...
Michael's on the side of the killer whales.
The killer whale. And my impression, at least, and maybe we'll find out now that he's got a different opinion, my impression was that because we kept it in captivity, that was the real crime here.
I think that's in his mind, that was the offense. But that's a situation where this girl got hurt.
Let's hope that he answers this, because I need some answers on that.
She was killed, murdered.
Come on, Michael. I can't believe he's ignoring us. As if there's anything better to do in O'Hare.
You've reached Michael Dunn.
Okay, we're leaving him another message.
He knows he doesn't have an argument. He doesn't have an argument.
We're leaving him another one.
At the tone, please record your
Yada,
message.
yada, yada. Come on.
When you have finished recording, you may hang up.
He doesn't have an argument. That's why he's not answering.
Michael, Ruthless Variety Program here. We were just discussing killer whales. And we thought that it was your position several weeks ago when we talked about this, that the real crime in the whales attacking humans were that we kept them in captivity. I'm certain that that's a mistake.
Michael, you haven't considered the story of the trainer who was killed by these murderous thugs. I mean, they broke her spine.
They're murderous thugs of the sea.
Right.
I think I hope we haven't mischaracterized his position, but we'd be eager to hear back from you, available here for the next few minutes. Thanks so much.
Yeah, you know what? Specifically on the trainer, the one thing that comes to mind on that is it's kind of like that whole, you know, the frog and the scorpion story.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Where the trainer's like, how could you do this? And he was like, you knew who I was.
I'm a killer whale.
He was, I'm a killer whale. You knew the whole time.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of, and honestly, there's a little bit of a Darwin Awards thing that goes into if you're going to get into a pool with killer whales, you're going to get eaten. So don't do it.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is a woman working a job. She's trying to make people happy. And
well, speaking of women working a job, this is the last story we need to get into. An elderly clerk who worked at a store for 18 years was fired after a shoplifter stole a pack of cigarettes. Now, this is not what you would think. This is from the New York Post. Mm-hmm. A Colorado Circle K employee is suing the company after she was fired for putting her hands on an armed thief that was trying to snatch a pack of cigarettes from behind the counter. Marianne Moreno, 75, claims in her lawsuit against Circle K Stores, Inc., that she was wrongfully terminated from the Westminster store that she had worked for over 18 years for a brief interaction with a criminal. So what happened was that this lady was working the counter as she'd done for 18 years. She's 75. And a guy came in and tried to just reach behind the counter and steal a pack of cigarettes. She put her hands on the guy. Circle K thought that was the problem.
You gotta be kidding
Fired
me.
the lady.
You have got
75.
to be kidding me.
75. Worked there for 18 years.
She's got more bravery than any executive at that fucking company I mean, who in their right mind fires a 75-year-old woman who's put in 18, 20 years to an organization? Some guy walks in and tries to steal, and she's like, hey, wait a minute, please don't steal. Don't steal those things. And the guy walks out. Everybody's laughing at her. And like, this is what is wrong with our society.
Do you want to hear what the termination letter is?
Yeah,
so
what does that
Moreno
say?
received a termination letter from Circle K, but was told days after the incident that she'd been fired for violating the company's, quote, don't chase or confront policy, unquote, regarding shoplifters and robbers.
Yeah, because she said, like, it's not like I chased after the guy.
But who cares if she
That's
did?
the thing. That's the thing is it's gotten to the point where it seems like
the criminals,
the criminals, and God knows the governments who won't pursue charges against actual criminals and let criminals run amok in cities across the country, that they have the upper hand. That we all should just accept that, you know, this is what's become of our country.
This is the insidious nature of this, right? So if you live in one of these high crime areas, it's not by choice. Like, you're living there because you have to. Well, maybe it is by choice, but it's you know, look, you know what you're getting into. But these stores, these big major corporations like Circle K, will put into place some policy that they use to fire 18-year people of their company called Don't Chase or Confront policy.
Yeah, that was probably written by somebody 35 years old who's been on consulting contract for 3 years.
Yeah, but and then the bottom line is their stores get robbed blind over and over and over again. And what do? They then close the store and move out of the community.
Right.
So the community is no longer served at all. But the policies that they put in place ensured it.
Right.
Ensured it.
Right.
And a woman like this, Marianne Moreno,
a hero,
who's doing everything that she can do to protect her store, because I got to imagine after 18 years you have some
ownership
of that. Like, you feel like this is my store and nobody's coming in and taking stuff from it. She's the one that you want to punish here.
Right. Imagine being that spineless, that you're an executive at a company like this and you look at a 75-year-old woman who's been with you and given you her time for 18 years and you're like, I'm sorry, but this 35-year-old woke person came in and wrote a policy about don't confront. I'm firing you. Get out of town.
75 years old. That's unbelievable.
It is incredible.
I mean, they might as well not have price tags on these items. I mean, it might as well be like
not a minute for companies like that get robbed blind.
No, and when the insurance companies go broke that are paying these premiums to when those insurance companies go broke and then Circle K goes broke and everyone.
How do you insure a company that says don't confront?
It's a great question.
Don't confront. Somebody just walks in there like, hey, give me all your money. You're like, oh, I don't know, here it is.
Would you write an insurance policy for them?
I absolutely wouldn't.
Well, he's a financial wizard, and you heard it here first on the Ruthless Variety Program. All right, fellas, we got to get to this interview. It is a doozy. You are going to love every second of this. This is Chris LaCivita, the senior advisor of the Trump campaign. Well, our next installment of the Ruthless Presidential Showcase, fueled by America's oil and natural gas. He's a guy we've known for a long time. He's a good man, you know, relatively. If you know people that we know, they can kind of vouch for him in some ways. He's Chris LaCivita, is a senior advisor for the Trump presidential campaign. Is that your correct title, senior advisor?
I don't worry so much about titles.
No, you never have. Well, you've had a lot of them.
Titles get you in trouble.
We've known each other a long time.
Long time.
You've been in this line of work for a while. I knew you, obviously, when you were running a ton of Senate races. But you've done almost everything there is to do in politics. And then here you are. You decided to do the craziest thing of all.
So 32 years.
Yeah.
32 years. Started with George Allen back in the early 90s. Got out of the Marine Corps, went straight into campaign work. And it's been great. And you're right, Josh. There's not much I haven't done in a campaign. There's not much I haven't seen in a campaign. Not much I haven't not seen happen on a campaign.
Right.
Things that'll never go into the book. But, you know, because I'll never write one. But, you know, it's been a fun ride. It's you know, well, first of all, I do want to say thanks for having me. I mean, it's you know, John and guys, it's great.
Yeah.
Great to be here. Big fan.
A pleasure.
I hope I don't embarrass my kids because they're big fans.
Well, I mean, it's too late for that, isn't it?
Well, I do it all the time. But in all seriousness, no, I mean, you know, I haven't worked a day in my life. I love what I do. I love the combat of politics, and that's the way I view it.
Yeah.
And
well, and speaking of that, you've offered us two incredible things on the way in. First, this fine bottle of bourbon, which we greatly
absolutely.
appreciate.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Second of all, your T-shirt.
My T-shirt.
I mean, this is something.
DonaldTrump.com. It is outstanding. These are available for sale.
So for our audio-only listeners, this is a mugshot of former President Donald J. Trump with a big black bolded "not guilty" underneath it.
Yes.
I imagine you're selling a few of those.
Just a few. Just a few. Fundraising's through the roof. Polling numbers. I mean, what are you going to do? But yes, so over at this campaign, obviously, have never been at the top of a presidential campaign.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's the highest you can get in our profession, and it's a fun one. Obviously, trying to make history from a lot of different perspectives. One being, you know, a former president running for re-election, essentially, right?
Yep.
And what's that only been done once?
Like Grover Cleveland or something?
Yeah. And so that, you know, that's obviously something that interested me. Obviously, the candidate, you know, I've done a lot of work for the president over the years, not within the team. Always, you know,
on the outside.
Only on the outside. You know, ran the super PAC, of course, with Mr. Ashbrook, Preserve America. We had $100 million, and I mean, they give you $100 million and they say, beat the shit out of Joe Biden. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? That's just like the best gig in the world. I mean, it was so much fun.
You guys did a whale of a job on it.
We did. But, you know, it was tough because we couldn't do anything other than just run attack ads. Now, running attack ads, don't get me wrong, that's fun. But we had some good messaging, and especially when the campaign, you know, wasn't on TV for 7 weeks. Mm-hmm. But you know, we stepped in and filled in that hole. But you know, and then in 2016, I did the rules committee.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that you
did the rules committee for the RNC, and then I also did the floor, ran the floor for him. So,
which I assume your credentials in that area are that you are a Marine with Purple Hearts, and like people don't totally want to fuck with you.
Well, the Purple Heart just means I got shot, but it was the only time I went left in my life. But let's just put it this way. The sumbitch that got me, I fared a whole lot better than he did. So, but moving on from that, you know, I mean, it gives you a certain mindset, but convention politics, I grew up with that in Virginia. In Virginia, the Republicans for years, we nominate by convention. I mean, actually, this will be the first year where you can't. But, you know, we have congressional district conventions that have 5,000 people show up to. We have the statewide, the two largest political conventions held in the world were both in Virginia. 93, George Allen for governor, 94, Oliver North for Senate. Both had 16, 18,000 voting delegates, respectively. So
wild.
Completely wild. And so, and of course, you know, it's fun for me because, you know, I grew up in doing Virginia politics and doing conventions and that kind of stuff. And then, you know, I ended up doing all of Cuccinelli's races. And, you know, now Ken is running, you know, the Always Back Down Super PAC for Run the Sanctimonious.
Wow. Just shots
boom.
I guess we're getting right into it.
Yeah. Shit, I come to play.
So how is that? I mean, look, you've had a close relationship with him over the years. This is
fun.
Clearly, very different sides.
You know, it won't be the first time, but I mean, he jumped ship and worked for Cruz. Excuse me, back in 2016.
Yeah,
right after Cruz played such a huge part in screwing up his governor's race in 2006 in 2013. You know, shut down the government, didn't have a reason why, and then opened it 2 weeks later. And by that time, instead of talking about the disastrous rollout of Obamacare online, we were talking about, you know, why people can't visit the Washington Monument. You know,
yeah. I mean, look, that was, and it ended up to be a tight race,
despite being outspent $25 million by McAuliffe and not being on TV. Excuse me, for the last 3 weeks of the campaign. Yeah, to lose by 2 points.
Yeah,
losing sucks, even losing close. But you know,
So you feel like you got the right side here.
This time?
Yeah.
In this race?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you guys got to be feeling pretty confident. I mean, here's the thing.
I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't think I was on the right side. I mean, people could say what they will, but there's this old saying: if you're not taking flack, you're not over the target. And this guy's taking a lot of flack from everybody, and I consider the source. And when I consider the source of the flack, then I'm thinking to myself, yeah, this is where I want to be.
Well, you're taking your experience to this campaign. I mean, for these guys give me a hard time for talking to reporters, but I do. Just something that you got to do in life. And what I hear from reporters is that your team is very professional. They're always responsive. They're always providing facts back. And what I've also heard is that your ground game in Iowa and New Hampshire are very professional. Can you talk about what you're doing differently this time than they've done in the past? Sure. Trump
And great question. And it's not a criticism in any sense, but in 2016, I think there's not a lot of people that would tell you that it was a really well-organized operation. As a matter of fact, it was a complete shit show, but they won.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, right.
They did a lot right.
Right.
But, even President Trump talks about, when he was doing and of course I was working for that campaign, Rand Paul for president.
No, well, we supported Rand Paul.
Yeah, it ended right after that, Iowa. Matter of fact, I got my dear consultant letter. Thank you for your service. But I have it hanging up. It's actually a great Doug Stafford letter. But anyway, I had to say it because he knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Dougie's catching strays here, right? The first 10 minutes.
Absolutely. But the president talked about this. Ivanka was at this caucus on caucus night, and actually I was there. At the same one, because I was speaking there for Senator Rand and for Senator Paul, and Ivanka was there, but there was no campaign presence. There were like 1,600 people in this gymnasium, and there was no one there.
Just her?
Just her. And she's like, there's no material, there's no organization, there's no check-in, there's nothing. So, and the cruise operation had dumped, an enormous amount of money, effort, great organization. Jeff Rowe knows how to organize. I mean, I'll give the devil his due on that. I'm going to beat his ass this time, but
that's more favorable treatment than I figured LaCivita was going to provide.
No, but the thing is, that all being said, they still only won. Cruz. Trump lost by 6,000 raw votes in Iowa and 1 delegate vote, despite having zero operation, like zero, against an operation that, was very well-oiled, it was very well organized. And it's basically the same operation now. I mean, of course, I know they're doing a little things differently. They're bringing in people from San Francisco and New York City and all these out-of-staters to knock on the door of people in Iowa and then stand there.
Is that an exclusive recruitment strategy out of San Francisco?
It's San Francisco. It's probably Chicago. Probably, most definitely Austin, Texas. Good Lord! But so they're doing this thing where this is the always back down super PAC of wrong to sanctimonious, but they're doing this. What?
You're on message.
I'm on message. No, I'm having fun. But anyway, they're bringing in these people. They're paying them $15, $20 an hour, and Jeff charges $40, and so they're doing door knocks for the campaign, and they're literally attack scripts. Now, you can get door knockers to do a couple things. Standing on somebody's front doorstep in Iowa, telling them why Donald Trump sucks, in their opinion, ain't one of them.
No, it's a tough place to do that. We don't like that in the Midwest. We don't care for it. Iowa and Minnesota, and you got to work for it.
I mean, the Post gave it 1,000 words, which, I got a kick out of, but...
jeez, he's going.
But John was saying, we do talk to the press. We talk to the press a lot. A lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you get 30 calls a day.
Yeah, but it sounds like your guys are very responsive.
Responsive, aggressive, obviously.
You're
organized.
You're taking nut shots at them over the weekend.
That's what I wanted to ask about.
Okay.
Oh God, here we go.
There's a bit of a flare up. So I guess Ron DeSantis was planning to go out to
the Basque Fry.
The Basque Fry
Basque
in
Fry.
Nevada, where one of the things that's on the menu apparently is testicles.
Well, it's not apparently. It is. They
And so you
travel
had
to
some
Nevada
remarks for
to
that.
eat testicles, fried ones from a lamb.
And so you had some remarks that got attention. What did you have to say about that?
Well, I just had a reporter call me and ask me, do you have any comment? That's your turf. That's the president's turf. And I said, it's not surprising that Ron DeSanctimonious would be going to Nevada to find a set of balls.
Jesus. It's just, I mean, look, this is kind of what you wanted out of this primary campaign.
Fun. It's fun.
It's fun. Like, if we can degenerate to this level in June, I love it. This is going to be the best campaign of all time.
Well, that and, I swing a bat all the time.
Yeah, we've come to notice that.
It's politics.
So let's back up on that.
But I do it with a smile.
You do it with a smile. You've always done it with a good heart, so to speak. But look, I think most people got to know your name to the extent that they know it for the Swift Boat ads in 2004.
Right.
Incredible ads.
Right.
Art.
Right.
It's absolute art. It should be in a museum.
Yeah, you were.
I would buy that.
I mean, for years on Twitter, I would reply to like every John Kerry tweet with the Swift Boat ad, and everyone would just lose their mind.
Oh, so you're the guy that was
I'm
doing
the guy that did that. Fantastic ad.
Yeah.
I mean, that sort of launched you into a different echelon, I would imagine.
In 2000, I managed George Allen's Senate race against Senator Robb, and then I went to the Senate committee when Bill Frist was the chair, and I was the political director, and that's when the political committees mattered because we had soft money and hard money.
Yep.
That's when the parties mattered. I think since McCain-Feingold, the parties have just become, irrelevant, but which is unfortunate. But in 2004, I was doing the independent expenditure for the Senate committee, and George Allen, my old client, of course, was the chairman. And Rick Reed and Rick just passed away last year, and Rick was like one of my early mentors, great guy, a talent. He and I met with the Swift Boat guys, and I remember I sat down with these guys, and they showed me John O'Neill gave me the manuscript to his book, and he's like, "Hey, can you read this and let us know what you think?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I literally. I think I must have drank 2 bottles of wine that night, smoked 2 packs of cigarettes, read the whole damn book. I was jacked on caffeine and good juice and nicotine, and I had notes written and everything. And
for all of our younger listeners, that's how you can become a successful operative.
Anybody says anything different, they're a damn liar. And I said, look, this is like a third of this stuff you can't even put in print. There's just you can't do that. And so we, John, used it around a little bit. But yeah, we got together, and Rick and Rick Reed did as much as I did, and I did as much as Rick. Rick and I were literally the perfect team for that. And Rick's uncle was Admiral Lonsdale, who was actually one of the Swifties. So he had that personal connection. And so we spent, I had protesters at my house, and this was before the internet was really big.
Yeah.
Right? It was just coming out.
Yeah.
And I remember I had my car parked and at the production studio, and there was a note that was left on my car that was like, "You're going to die." And so I just left a note back for the time and the place that I'd be more than happy to show up.
Did you tell them they better pack a lunch?
What was funny was, no, they packed more than pack a long lunch, one for eternity. But the thing about it was the note was off my car when I went back out. Yeah. But I went to the place, but no one showed up. So
they didn't take you up on the offer.
It's unfortunate.
So I got to ask you this. So listen, long career, everything leads up. You do work on the outside for President Trump, 16, 20. Somehow you get into the middle of this orbit. Had you met directly with Trump, I'm assuming, while he was president, and got to know him a little bit?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Okay, so this is what I'm wondering. So when do you meet him, and what's the context of you? Is he interviewing for people to help him out on the next presidential campaign? How does this work?
So I was introduced to Susie Wiles.
Yeah.
Who, I mean, Susie is she's the best. And
another
and she's been
Trump
there.
consultant. She's well regarded.
I mean, solid pro.
Yeah.
Been in the business for a long time. Took some time off to raise her kids, and but I'm the only thing I'm disappointed is I hadn't gotten to know her earlier and worked with her earlier. She's that good, and so she and I are kind of doing this together. We're doing this together. And it's actually working, it works out really well, and because there's a lot of things that I can do, and a lot of things I wouldn't want to do that Susie does, and a lot of things I can't do. It's a really good match.
But she knows you at least by reputation and invites you down.
She does through a friend of ours, Tony Fabrizio.
Oh yeah, okay, sure.
And Tony's a long time pollster for the Wall Street Journal, does AARP stuff. I mean, he's very well known, very well regarded guy. So Tony introduces us, and we have dinner, and I met with the president at Mar-a-Lago in June of 22.
Okay. Oh, so not that long ago.
No, it's the first time I met him.
We're talking like a year ago.
Yeah, a year ago. Yeah.
Wow.
Probably almost a year to the day.
Boy, that water passes pretty quickly underneath the bridge, doesn't it?
Yeah, it moves. But and it was fun dinner. But and he's DJing while you're having dinner. He's got the iPad out and the music's and the playlist is pretty awesome. It's actually a damn good playlist.
I didn't know this.
Dude, the playlist is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like, what's the tunes? What are we talking about?
Well, I mean, you can go from
a real range.
You can literally go from REM to Phantom of the Opera to
real eclectic
from Pavarotti. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, it's a highly entertaining list, but it's one it's unpredictable.
Yeah.
Leave it to LaCivita, by the way, to have a meeting with the former president about, sort of high-minded things. And he's like, it's a hell of a playlist.
Great DJ.
Yeah.
Great DJ.
I was thinking about it, but then I went up in, I guess it was July for a second meeting, and it was at Bedminster.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in his office, and it was the day Roe v. Wade was overturned.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I think
late June.
It was late June.
Yep.
And I remember sitting at his seat, and, right in front of his desk, and I got the alarm, and I think it's rude to check your phone when you're in a meeting, but for whatever reason, I picked up my phone and looked at it, and I'm sitting right in front of him, and I was like, Mr. President, you just did what a lot of people have never been able to do. You just overturned Roe v. Wade. And he picks up his phone, and we're looking at it. And
wow,
so,
that's a historical moment.
It was a historical moment. So to be there at that particular time was really cool. It was a moment.
So at what point? And I imagine there's consideration that what a campaign looks like and whether we're going to launch one at all, and all of that kind of thing. At what point does it become clear that you yourself are going to be in the middle of a presidential campaign for Donald Trump?
When did I decide that? Or
yeah, I mean, when does it become clear that like I'm in here and we're going?
So last year in 22, I was doing, we did about $17 million worth of ads in the super PAC. We did some we did a lot in Pennsylvania. We were trying to do, lay wood on some of the Democrats, but it was probably early November, which wasn't a great time.
No,
at all.
Well, and this is why I asked, right? Because the timing of this campaign was a little bit interesting, because Republicans themselves were at an all-time low. I mean, we had underperformed in a midterm. And you know how it is at the end of every cycle, midterm or presidential, if you underperform where expectations are, there's just a state of depression in the party.
Right.
Nobody wants to give anything. Nobody wants to do anything. Nobody wants to talk about politics at all. They just like, let me give it a reset here.
Yep.
You guys just jump right in.
Which is him. I worry about things that I can control, right? And that's the mechanics and the campaign side of things. I'm under no illusion that you go into this job thinking that, you know, in campaigns, you know, by nature, political consultants, we want to control everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we want to control everything, including the candidate.
Yeah.
There ain't no control on this one. So why even think about it? Why even bother with it? People say, well, let Trump be Trump. That's how they say it. But no, it's a matter of
you're not going to micromanage this guy.
No,
right.
Let alone manage.
Yeah, right.
But I got to tell you, and I mean, I've been around a long time. I've seen a lot. I've heard a lot. Yeah. I've done a lot. But this guy's gut and his instinct for hitting at something at a particular time, I find striking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, whoa. And of course, the first thing goes through my head was I'd be like, yeah, I don't know if I would do that. But then, you know, 2 days later, I'm like shaking my head going, damn, how the hell did he know that? Because I find that amazing. So it happens a couple times, right? And you're like, oh, geez, oh, God, you know, how's this going to pan out? And then you start realizing, oh, it's probably going to be okay. It's probably going to work out. I mean, it's, you know.
I mean, look, in retrospect, it definitely did work.
Well, having the gift of hindsight, right? But even at the time, and so now I worry less about those things and commit myself to providing him the organization along with Susie that he deserves. Mm-hmm. He deserves a campaign apparatus that he's never really had before. Mm-hmm. I mean, he had a relatively good one in 20, but that was driven by the fact that he was the incumbent president. But, you know, so we are as a team bound and determined to give him what we think he's entitled to, which is a top-notch political organization whose goal is to win every fucking day, every fucking battle. There's nothing in between. That's all we want to do.
And that's a strategy that works. You guys have a commanding lead, and it's really hard to see how anybody niches into that. But it hasn't come without a cost to you. There are Democrats who are trying to pitch oppo on you to these liberal reporters.
Yeah, right.
What is it they're trying to?
Well, so I got a couple calls last week, and there are some of our friends on the Republican side that are, you know, pitching oppo on Susie. But
gotta love this game, right?
But you know, I had crazy. It's crazy. But I had a couple of reporters call me and say, hey, LaCivita, you know, when I was landing, and I had a reporter call me, and she says, hey, I just left a message for me. She said, hey, I just had somebody pitch some oppo on you. It's funny as hell. Give me a call when you can. And I'm taxiing, and
you're like, oh, son of a.
I want to get off the plane. Because I want to call that reporter like right then, but I got to go through, you know, and I do all this stuff, and finally I get outside. Hey, what's up? It's like, and they start reciting this package, and I said, well, first let me ask you, is it coming from the right or is it coming from the left? Because I know they're not going to tell me their source, and they're like, it's coming from the left. And I was like, oh, that's amazing.
Thank God.
That's awesome. And they
what is it they're pitching?
They're pitching this narrative that you know, this guy LaCivita, he's kind of interesting. You know, he shot a goose while he was on the phone with a political reporter, which is true, by the way.
wait, that's considered oppo?
Yeah. Can you tell that story?
Yeah. But. And then, oh yeah, and he used to yell at people, and oh yeah, okay, that happens in politics. So years ago, I don't even know how long ago it was. Maybe it was 2010. It was 2010.
Yeah, I remember where you were then.
Yeah, I was at the Senate committee with you, and after I was brought there under false pretenses, but that's another story.
That's how we did it.
Yes. So what was funny was being accessible, right, comes with costs. So, and that's what I love about my gig. You know, I can do it anywhere from, you know, but this particular case, I was in a goose blind because I don't, I shoot shit. That's what I do. Animals, little ones, flying ones, but I eat everything. So,
very responsible
with a glass of Chianti, and fava bean, but. And as I picked up the phone and I told this reporter, who will remain nameless, I don't want to embarrass her again, but I said, look, I'm hunting. And if the gun goes off, don't be freaking out on me because that's just what happens. But this is the price of accessibility. And she, oh, no, blah, blah, blah. I said, oh, hold on, put it down. Pow, 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 pow. Damn geese dropping all over the place. Pick up the phone. Are you okay? Oh, yeah, I'm fine. They're not. It's like,
I mean, that's exceptional multitasking.
It was exceptional multitasking. Thank you. And
this is what the president saw in him. Yeah. He read the article.
Well, I can tell you this: I carry my own geese out, unlike John Kerry. Remember when he walked out of that field? He had the guide carrying the goose for him.
Unreal.
What a wuss! I mean, come on. So
yeah, Ted Strickland.
Oh God. Yeah. The
Go
lobbyist.
ahead, sorry. Yeah.
No, but
right.
the lobbyist, the Washington D.C. lobbyist. But so anyway, they're writing like this is something like odd about this guy because he would do this. It's some damn millennial kid or something. Probably doesn't understand it. But anyway, they're pitching that kind of crap.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
But I had another reporter say, "But you would like." Freely admit that. And I'm like, oh yeah.
I'm wondering why you are pitching that. Like that's
no
the
kidding.
story you want out there.
It feels like something you'd put Ashbrook on.
Yeah, right.
Like, hey, can you get that out there? I mean, so hold on, let's get back to the presidential for a minute. Do you how do you view the world in the presidential context where you've got a very well-defined candidate? I mean, he's a former president. Everyone knows who he is. Everyone knew who he was before he was president.
Right.
Ubiquitous name ID across the world. And hard opinions. Hard opinions.
Yep.
And at this point, you look at any given poll, and you've got a fave on fave issue that's, look, you're doing this a long time. Mid-30s for a former incumbent president feels like a tough hill to climb in the context of a general election.
Right.
Is that something that how do you overcome all of that?
Well, so I go back to, first of all, those are the campaigns I specialize in. Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you did. You did Ron Johnson for context last cycle.
Last cycle.
Very similar numbers in that regard in Wisconsin.
Right.
He was reelected.
Managed not to get fired.
And that was actually some of your greatest work.
Actually, I think the senator did fire me election night, but that was by request. So we kept the karma going. Great guy, by the way. Very difficult, right? Yeah. I mean, you talk about a hard dude that would prepare you for this kind of thing that I'm doing now.
Right.
Ron prepared me. Tough guy. Extraordinarily passionate.
Mm-hmm.
He actually wrote a bunch of radio ads. And he wrote a lot of TV ads, but he wrote a bunch of radio ads.
Were they like 7.5 minutes long? Because that's usually what candidates do.
Yeah, but no, I swear, honest to God, the guys with the Senate committee will tell you, he would be writing them at 73 words. But the radio, he would come in at 140, maybe 150, which is about right. But all we did was, find the talent to do the ads, and it won best at the Pollies this year. They won best radio campaign.
Did you have the heart to give him the trophy?
We gave him the trophy with his freaking name on it. I mean, who were his ads?
It's well done.
No, I mean it was great. It was, and I couldn't wait to call him and tell him. I'm like, your radio ads. But Ron was in a position where he was, running for his third term after saying he wouldn't, right? Yeah. Fave on fave. He was always upside down, right? His unfave was higher than his fave, and the easiest way to equalize that was just to take Mandela Barnes and make him equally unlikable. Mm-hmm. And what happened was, the more you do that, you start seeing a rise in your own numbers. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't a strategy that was necessarily met the approval of the candidate, but it was a strategy that ended up working. Mm-hmm. And I think in the case of President Trump, who is universally known, there's not in the Republican primary context, what are they going to say about him that hasn't already been said?
That's true.
What are they going to say?
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, right. On one hand, your general election number is not where you want. On the other hand, it's certainly not going down.
Well, it's not going down, but at the same time, I'm seeing numbers. I see numbers every day, right, as I know you guys do, that have Trump either up 6, up 4, up 3, down 2, down 1, tied.
The latest I saw was he's up on Biden.
Correct. That is 100% correct. So I'll take that any day of the week, because then the question becomes, okay, well then, you're running against an incumbent president. The incumbent president's numbers are horrific. They're worse than the President Trump's ever were when he was in office. And so, you make it more about, where are you now? I think people have a genuine concern. I mean, people can say a lot of things about Donald Trump, but I know this: there wasn't any war that was started in those 4 years that he was president, because none of these people were crazy enough to test him. The Chinese weren't fucking around. The Russians weren't fucking around. I mean, to put it bluntly, and I think that matters. I think the focus on the economy matters. I think that I'm very bullish in a general election campaign and our ability and his ability to put together a message that people will find compelling. I mean, again, we haven't even really launched that aspect yet. But but the data shows that the race is winnable. Look, DeSantis's entire strategy, and I hate to continue to bring him up, but people want to, he's the one the press wants to make the opponent, so I'll play the game. But the fact is that their entire the part of their strategy was focused on we're more electable. Well, but every piece of data that's been coming out in the last month has shown that that's not to be the fact, not to be true. So, it's a matter of keep and that's the other thing you'll see us focused on, which is we're not taking. We're running as if we're 10 points behind. I mean, I know that's an old political line.
Yeah, but it's a winner's attitude.
It has to be, and that mentality has to be pervasive in every aspect of the campaign, down from the field guys all the way to the top. And and I tell guys on the conference calls, and they'll tell you, they'll say, "Well, never back down." I'm like, "Well, stop. What did you just say?" It's not fucking never back down. It's always back down. Do not use their terminology. And
I mean, it's their name.
But for them,
this is why the guy's good, right? He's like not accepting this.
Right. No, I don't buy that.
It's like go fuck yourself.
And honestly, no offense, seriously, no offense, but fuck you.
Not taken ever.
Sorry, Mom.
One thing I wanted to ask you is that now it seems like pretty much everyone has jumped in. There was this period that you mentioned
we may get a couple more.
How Trump got in early, and he had the field to himself to basically just like take a bet to everyone who was considering running, beat the hell out of them before they even announced. But now everyone is in. What are your thoughts on the other campaigns that the other candidates are running? Are you impressed? Right. Are you disappointed? Do you think any are doing a lot worse than you thought, or any doing a lot better?
So, but you also raise a point when. Everybody was like, "Oh, you need to." Everyone was telling the president, "You should wait. You should wait until January or maybe even February to announce." Right? And he's like, "No, I'm gonna do it in November." And it actually, and November was a rough month, but and December was rough. Just the sheer volume of incoming. But the discipline, which is, some folks don't necessarily use that word when they describe the president, but he's got an enormous amount of discipline to then announce And, we do a couple events and we go out and we do a few things, and people are always, oh, where about the rallies? Why don't you want to do rallies? First of all, rallies are $500,000 a pop, right? And you're talking about raising, what is it, $3,800 a person now?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of money. But then, of course, Nikki gets in. And I have the Governor Haley, and I have an enormous amount of respect for her. And she's got a great operation. I mean, John Lerner's a smart dude. Betsy is fantastic. I love her.
Yep,
she's a great operative. But they're looking for money. You're right. It's tough. She doesn't have that personal money, so it's kind of hard for her, I think. Just and then there's this this back and forth. Do I want to attack? Do I not want to attack? Do I want to?
You largely left them alone. I mean, you guys have basically focused on DeSantis.
That's it. Yeah, and then the vice president, whatever. And then although Mark's a smart guy, good guy, been around a while.
Yeah, right.
Not necessarily campaign guy, but gets it. Burgum, he's got Englander. Chip's smart, damn operative, good guy.
Yep.
I've known him forever.
That launch event was beautiful. I tell everyone that launch event, like the advanced team that they have there, is top notch. It looked fantastic. Burgum's launch.
Really? Yeah.
LaCivita missed it.
I saw the video. I saw the video, which was really, really, nice. I think I fell asleep at 38 seconds. I mean, there's but so many, goddamn horizons I can stare at. You know what I'm saying? But he's got a cool story, and Chip's actually good operative. Christie, I've been there, done that. Next.
Have you discussed? I mean, is it in this field, outside of this field? Have you discussed a running mate of any kind? Or is this just like wide open?
No. And anyone who said, and there's been, people talk, oh yeah, bullshit. No.
There's been no speculation because there's
there's lots of speculation.
Even within the camp, like a lot of folks have mentioned Carrie Lake. That would Carrie Lake be the VP? And have you heard anything on that? Is there any?
Oh no, I hear it. I hear it all the day.
Yeah,
I hear it all every day. It's not something that is a conversation that we have.
And also the remaining campaign. So Tim Scott,
great guy. Great. I mean. Plus, my old firm is doing his campaign, the little shits. But, he's got a great operation, and he's got a really inspiring message, and it's nice and wonderful.
And Vivek, is that a separate campaign, or is that a coworker?
By the way, I was involved.
Is that a
Well, I got to get back to this. I did, I ran a super PAC that did Tim Scott's first state House race that got him elected.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, but Howie Rich was funding this operation down in. He's a big libertarian donor and funded this operation down in South Carolina, and we were primarying the hell out of Republicans that didn't support school choice, and this was a particular open seat, and Tim was a big school choice supporter, and so we, how he had spent all this money, and I was like his instrument, right? And that was fun. But Vivek, I mean, great guy, just a hell of a speech, love him.
Puts in good work in the office, shows up on time,
buys the merch.
No,
poor Alex Bruskowitz is looking over his shoulder, like, wait a minute, is this guy going to take my job?
But no, I mean, I listened to the, that he is the true anti-Trump candidate. I heard you guys talking about that.
Yeah,
I was like,
it's Duncan's theory. It's not a bad one.
It's fascinating. Yeah,
it's not a bad one.
Fascinating.
It assumes that you're going to not be there.
Correct, which is a really bad assumption.
It's a tough assumption.
The Constitution says you have to be, 34, 35, and a naturalized citizen, born in the United States. Other than that, it doesn't matter. Now, I mean, that's what the Constitution says. But I think that, in terms of everything that's going on right now, I think we're going to have to deal with more bullshit. we'll have to deal with some bullshit. And I don't know because I don't get into legal discussions. But
see, and that's the thing. I'm not going to put you in the middle of
no. And I appreciate that because I'm sure my friends at DOJ are probably listening.
Yep, very, very intently, and we welcome them as listeners and downloads.
Hi, Jack.
But I will say, it's look from a political perspective, not a legal perspective.
Right.
It's impossible to ignore that we're dealing with high-profile indictments and things like that.
Right.
And we've just not dealt with this in the context of a presidential nomination campaign.
Ever.
So far, it appears to have zero effect on the polling numbers in your primary.
Right.
Is there a point where you feel like water starts getting heavy to carry here, and or do you think that Republican primary voters are just basically so accustomed to everyone attacking Trump all the time that almost without regard of what you say about him, people just don't believe it?
It's I think people the American people can smell bullshit a mile away, and I think they smelled it with what was going on in New York City. I think they see this two-tier justice system that we're currently dealing with as it relates to President Trump and Hunter and Joe, and they announced the indictment basically the same day that the $5 million bribe starts making its way around town. And I mean, there are no such things as coincidences in politics, and I think people that live in the bubble being inside the Beltway in Washington, we don't. And of course, I don't live here, by the way. I live 2 hours south. But by the way, if you want my address, just be careful because
I don't think anybody's going on your land.
No, they're not. But my point being that I just see my wife going, oh God, here we go. But
meanwhile, he's got Ruby Ridge out front.
But I think they know, and whatever comes next, I have no idea what's going to come next. But it gets to the point that people are like, why does everybody want this guy? I mean, what the hell is? I mean, what is? First of all, it's never happened before. I mean, and we lecture the world about elections, and we lecture the world about all these things, and you have your primary opponent for the presidency of the United States being under investigation by your DOJ, I mean, that's just it's not the way things have ever been done here.
Especially given in a previous campaign, essentially Biden's campaign and the press colluded to make sure that accurate information
without a doubt
wasn't allowed out.
Been proven. I mean, Russia. I mean, come on. The
laptop and everything else.
Well, but even the Russia stuff that was literally manufactured by Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
If there's anybody that we should be gunning for, it should be her. But whatever.
So let me ask you this, because I think this is where a lot of people who really like President Trump and like what he did over the course of 4 years have a little trepidation about this particular campaign, because you've got indictments, you've got just a really sort of negative information flow all the time.
Right.
I know, because I've been around the guy a lot, that he really does care about the future of the country.
Right.
And he does think about that kind of thing. And I'm certain he's alarmed about the direction President Biden has taken everything. So I'm also sure that he knows that losing this presidential campaign beyond himself is catastrophic for this country. Do you think that there's ever a scenario where he looks at everything that's come at him and is just like, we got to win here no matter what? And if you were to lose, I don't know, Iowa or New Hampshire, which listen, you're not going to entertain that, and I don't want you to. But if you were to, is this a guy that ultimately can get behind a Republican nominee that's not him?
I don't. One of the things that I don't do in politics is shop in hypotheticals. And in this particular case, well, first of all, we're not going to lose Iowa. Just not going to happen. I mean, we're just not. And we're not going to lose New Hampshire. I mean, the data is where it needs to be. The message is where it needs to be. The candidate is where it needs to be. and everything else is falling in line.
I understand why you don't entertain it. I guess what I'm getting at is what some people who've been in the movement, as you have from day one, they're concerned about how this team has got to all be on the field one way or another. And I think those people are very committed to President Trump if he is the nominee.
Yeah.
They're worried a little bit about if he's not.
Right. Well, well, first of all, we're not going to disappoint anybody because we're going to be the nominee. So I'll just say that. But I think that where things are, where the trajectory is now in the general election, even in, like I said, as we talked about earlier in the general election, I like where things are shaping up. I like the contrasts that are shaping up. The primary is one of these things that we have to go through. But there's going to be a point in time. That's really a question, quite frankly, Josh, that we should think about asking everybody else who's running for the fucking Republican nomination.
Yeah.
If they are truly concerned about the country, okay, when is enough? And so, but we'll continue playing that aspect and doing what we have to do. And like I said, we're not going to take anything for granted, but there'll be a point in time that I think that's more of a question that will be focused on somebody like a Ron DeSanctimonious than a Donald Trump. So
fair answer. Go ahead, Smug. I got one more before we get into our final.
Specifically on that subject is now that he is in the race, and now that you've seen how he is as a presidential candidate.
Who, he?
DeSantis.
Oh.
What would you say you've been most impressed with and most disappointed with his performance?
Most impressed with
just set this
his ability to sweat profusely.
I knew that was
soak a t-shirt. I mean, this guy would win a wet t-shirt contest just showing up. Right? That was amazing. Now,
I did not have wet t-shirt on the bingo card here.
Well, but I'm sorry, but I mean, it was all over the place last week.
It's a family program.
Well, okay, but just saying. I saw it on TV. It was okay. It made past the censors. So the other part was, what was I most disappointed in?
Most disappointed. What do you think is his weakness? What's been really bad? What's been going?
He's only that he used 3 fingers to eat pudding. No, I mean, it's the most disappointing. I mean, it manifests itself every single day on TV. I'm trying to be serious and funny at the same time, which is not always.
No, I know it's
right.
It's a trick.
Yeah, it is. But it's I don't honestly. I just don't. I don't spend a lot of time. Like I said, I worry about what I can control. And everybody else's strategy in this campaign for president and the nomination is based on something they don't control.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's interesting.
We're the ones driving, right? And so we control what we can control, and we know what that is. I can't control what the feds are going to do in any given moment, but guess what? We'll make the best of it when it happens. Right, which I think we have in the last couple of times, but everybody else is sitting around hoping for something, which means they've ceded control. And we're not ceding that any ounce of that to anything. So,
yeah. Well, look, good answer. We have 3 big ones that we give everybody.
Oh boy.
Okay, these are serious. This could get you in trouble in a lot of different places.
I'm gonna have another shot.
Yeah, no, please fill your "Make America Great Again" mug. It was nice for Smug to put that on loan today. All right, so if you can plan your last meal on Earth.
Oh, I've thought about this.
What would it be?
You probably don't. I'm a bit of a foodie.
Yeah, no, you're a big foodie.
I'm a big foodie. So it would be a 90-day dry-aged porterhouse with a big slab of foie gras just right up. You know what that is?
Oh, yeah.
That's liver that's force-fed and then ripped out of a duck right before it dies, and it's so good.
It's the most delicious.
It's just amazing. Damn Schwarzenegger, he eliminated it as governor, and they made it in California. Anyway, that's another story. But that's the main course, right? There's no vegetable or any of that.
No,
shit.
no. This is your last meal.
But as an appetizer, it would be like big time bone marrow.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
A little bit of sea salt on it.
Sure.
Oh,
from the bone?
Yeah, just like the
with the little spoon,
the big bone, and split open, and you broil it, and you sprinkle a little sea salt on it, and you scoop it out with a little spoon, and
maybe like some kind of a baguette, some kind of a toasted bread.
Did he just say baguette?
I did. I did. You're the one talking about foie gras. It's unbelievable. He tries to come back at me with that shit. It's unbelievable.
So, and then just like a big ass baked potato that's just, or maybe potatoes fondant. There you go, John.
It never ends. It never ends. Full Perry. So can we? We're doing a bourbon beforehand, and then a tip topper of your finest red wine too.
So my go-to, I love Angel's Envy, great, but my go-to is Buffalo Trace.
There you go.
I mean, it's like, I love that when I can find it, because in Virginia everything's run by the government.
It's unbelievable.
It sucks.
Yeah.
And
one lottery after another, you have to enter yourself
crooked
into.
as shit too. By the way, and there was all these guys at ABC that were farming it out to their buddies on Facebook.
Fell off the truck.
Shit, right. I never knew where the truck was. God knows I looked.
When you're done with this, you and I are going to find the truck.
I'm going to find the truck. By the way, if anybody out there listening knows where the truck is. Old fashioned,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I mean, and usually smoked old fashions, sort of like my go-to, and then I'm a big red wine kind of nut job, so just like a big fat ass cab.
Yeah,
but probably it's probably Super Tuscan from Italy.
Oh, jeez, he's got very specific. I like.
Oh no, I mean I've got them all, and I know them all. I could go on for 2 days about it, but
yeah, Fat Ass is not a brand name.
Fat Ass is not. Actually, there is a wine out there that it's a Syrah. It's called Fat Bastard. It's actually pretty good.
It's actually pretty good.
They sell boatloads of it. I wonder why.
All right, so if you never got into this line of work. You got blue sky, never got into politics at all. Blue sky, looking back with the benefit of retrospect, you can fill it with absolutely anything in the world that you want to do. What would it be?
I probably would have stayed in the Marine Corps.
Is that right?
Yeah, probably. Because that was my goal was just I was going to make the military career, make the Marine Corps career.
Yeah,
that was my focus. It was either that or possibly, the agency. I mean, I was geared toward that. My major was international affairs. I was very much focused on that kind of stuff. I loved that. And this was all before. Then you go to war and you're like, and then you get shot and you're like, yeah, maybe this ain't going to be the greatest thing.
My politics might sound like a little bit.
No, it was funny when I was in college. It was I went to Virginia Commonwealth University down in Richmond, and they literally created me. They made me a political monster. Because I showed up to class every day, and I mean I got a great liberal arts education, but I was being told what to believe.
Yeah.
And it pissed me off. And
yeah,
so,
that's not good. You don't want to do that with Chris LaCivita.
Well, no, you just don't want to do it in general.
It's really tough. But really tough way to approach things.
But what was great was it forced me to, go into class prepared, because I just wasn't going to be programmed, and all these other morons are sitting around you, they just write whatever. But
that's so funny. I mean, I feel like the same way. In college, I had one particular professor. Same way, like I knew I was going to get left-wing stuff, but I knew I was getting a really smart guy.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go in there and work to try to make sure.
But this guy knew what he was doing.
Right.
He knew what would piss me off.
Yeah.
And he knew what buttons to push, how to get me motivated. And he motivated, and it worked. But, in the
probably
same time, they in their eyes, created a complete fucking monster.
Unintended consequence.
So I've got a question
Yeah.
to add in
Okay.
before the last question comes, and then we've become something of an animal fighting podcast.
Yeah.
Smug claims that he could take a horse barehanded.
Oh, well,
and we've had
no shit. No offense, Smug, but I mean, God almighty, my daughter rode horses for 12 years.
They're fragile, aren't they? People think they're tough. They take them like I tell people, if you own a horse, that's worse than owning a boat.
It is
100%.
Do you know what the name of my daughter's first pony was?
No.
Daddy's 911. Because that's what I would have been driving had I not been making the payments to that thing. It's true.
What an amazing name.
Daddy's 911.
Okay. So what's the animal? What's the animal?
Chris LaCivita, if you were to take
What's the biggest one?
Barehanded.
Oh, so no weapons.
No.
So I would have failed because I generally always have one with me. The belt is a great weapon.
Well, I mean,
that can count.
You can get innovative. The point is you can't shoot the damn thing.
Right. Well, that's not fun. And it's not a man.
Anything.
Well, man's an animal.
Well, we already know the answer to that.
So
unfortunately,
I would say realistically, and being, I'm not going to say a wolf because the wolf's going to rip your throat out before you get your hands around its throat.
Okay.
You could probably kill a coyote. I run into enough of them hunting that, you think about, okay, what are you going to do with one comes at you?
Would you bull charge it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You
got to take it on off.
Well, you do that with a bear. You do
black bear.
Black bear. Yeah. If it's a grizzly, just bless yourself and say an act of contrition because you're dying. You're fucked. A black bear, yeah, you got a chance. A big black grizzly, yeah, you're screwed. Or you're going to end up like Leonardo DiCaprio, and
you're crawling your way back to civilization.
Oh, geez, I hadn't really thought about what animal. I mean, and I hunt all over the place.
I feel like a black bear is something
you could. You could kill a black. You could look. Here's what I'll say: it's a black bear. Because damn it, if Davy Crockett could do it, by God, I can. Took me a while, but I got there.
You got there. All right.
Just grin him down.
Charge at him. It sounds like. All right. So final question.
Yep.
Our view is that most successful people are motivated by one of two things: the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat. Obviously, nobody likes losing or hates winning. It's what motivates you to keep going, right? What makes you work that much harder?
You learn more in politics. You learn more from your losses than you do your wins. And you have to take stock in the lessons that you learn. Don't ever, you have to be very, like Ron Johnson's win in Wisconsin. Great win. But there was a lot of things we could have done differently. And I don't, but it's clearly, to answer the question, it's winning. I mean, I'm in this business to win, not to lose. Because there's no, when my kids played.
Yeah, but you strike me as a big agony defeat guy.
No. I strike you as an agony defeat guy?
Well, yeah, because
I'm not a masochist.
No, I know, but you're like, look, if you win, you're kind of like on to the next. As long as I've known you, you've been on to the next.
Yes.
If you lose, you're thinking about that one guy who did the one thing, and it's the reason you sit up a little later, you read a little bit more into the deck.
Well, I do that, but the one thing I do if I lose, and I've lost my fair share over the years, I look at it. It's something that I did wrong. Here's a loss. Pat McCrory, 2016. Oh my God, that sucked.
Yep,
that stung bad.
He was ahead of his time too.
Yeah, he fought the culture war before.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah,
I know, and stuck to it. And
I'm from North Carolina. I was mad as hell about that.
And so was I.
And he was right. He was right.
100% right. But it was never his comfort zone because he wasn't known for that. He's not a culture warrior. He was a mayor forever, right? So that was a tough loss. I mean, George Allen losing in 2006 was against my childhood idol, Jim Webb, jarhead of jarheads, was lose by 7,000 votes, which was one vote per precinct.
The old macaca campaign.
Oh God Almighty, and I mean that so you learn from those, and there was this point where I was some of my losses were so close. Cuccinelli was 2 points. Bob Stefanowski in Connecticut in 2018 against this is a guy who had never run for anything, let alone voted.
Yeah,
and wins the nomination by we petitioned to get on the ballot, which had never been done before in the state's history. And serious dude, former CEO of CFO of UBS. I mean, this is a serious guy. Lose by 2 points. I mean, I was these. I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong that I'm losing these close races? And I'm getting these races to where they need to be to win, but there's just not that enough. So there is that agony of defeat. That. And I literally think that that experience, then rolling into Wisconsin, knowing how important that race was, and knowing that there's just not one stone that you can, and Ron was like from the beginning, like, we've got to make sure these sons of bitches don't steal it. We got to make sure they don't steal it. And so we started suing in June. Everybody and their mother. We stopped drop boxes. We stopped the Zuckerbuck. I mean, all this stuff that everybody was trying to get done in 20 but never accomplished. We did it very early in Wisconsin. It was mostly because I'm on the phone screaming at the lawyers, and I just said, "Look, guys, you either listen to me or I'm putting the senator on the phone with you." And for once, there was somebody meaner and nastier than me, and that was him, because he was like, "Look, and because he was very passionate about it, and he knew that." And he, people would like laugh and roll their eyes, but no.
The smart thing is to make sure you do it before election day, then be mad about it after.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, I think because we paid so much more attention to all those different aspects and all those different details, and and I know Rick Scott got a lot of shit for the committee the way.
Did he?
But
weird. Who told him?
I'm just saying. I read somewhere that he caught a lot of shit, but in Wisconsin,
I don't know who thought about that.
It worked. It worked, but at least in Wisconsin it worked. But
at least we had 1 out of 50.
I ain't getting in the middle of that one, although I may have just but unintentionally. But Ron was just very much focused on that. So I guess. No, the agony.
The complicated mind of Chris LaCivita.
I mean, it's just I can't give you an answer.
Listen. He's one of the most talented operatives in the business. I have known him for years. He's a good man. There is nobody that you want fighting on your side more than Chris LaCivita. He won't give up until the very end. Thanks for joining us.
Guys, you think the big man?
You think the big man would join us here at some point?
I think so. Because he does this.
Yeah.
I mean, he did a couple, he did Full Send podcasts.
I know it. I watched it. It was hilarious.
It was hilarious.
It was hilarious.
It really was good.
Well, I think we could have a good
Well, you'd have to prepare to have your balls busted horrifically. So
listen, I've been in a lot of meetings. Yeah. I've been in a lot of meetings. There was plenty of ball busting. I'm well acquainted. No, listen, Chris, thank you for joining us.
Josh,
appreciate your time.
John, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Good luck. Man, that guy is just the best. He really is.
I mean, you and I have known him for decades.
Yeah.
And have worked with him on a whole bunch of different things. Say what you will about the Trump campaign. Say what you will about Donald Trump. I'm sure most of our audience has a definitive opinion. They either love him or hate him.
Sure.
But when you're looking at competence in how you execute a campaign, it's hard to look past a guy like that. And say they're not doing something different this time.
I mean, they sound so confident. The numbers back it up. I appreciate he had the time to tell us that. I mean, it was a great interview, and again, another great showcase.
I think we've done it.
I think so. Absolute banger of an episode, gentlemen. Thank you so much, Chris, for coming on to the program. No thanks to Michael Duncan for not.
I hope he can make it back.
Yeah, right. So until next time, minions, keep the faith. Hold the line and own the libs. We'll see you on Thursday. Stay ruthless.